So when I was a junior in high school, my life completely revolved around the SATs. I remember I was studying every day, going to Barnes and Nobles, getting these books, taking these practice tests, right? It was my life. But I remember this one day. It's probably about 2 weeks before I took the test. And my dad sees that I've been working real hard, and he says, "Hey, Scott, let's go to Giuseppe's. Let's get a slice real quick. I want to talk to you." I say, "Okay, sure, Dad. What's going on? Let's talk. I ain't going to turn down a free lunch." And he says, "Scott, I know how important all this SAT stuff is to you, and I agree. It's very important. But I want you to know this." And he proceeded to say, "Scott, the most important thing that you will ever learn in this life is how to build and maintain connections and relationships." And when he said this, immediately I was like, "Okay, Dad, that sounds pretty good. I can see the value in that. But it's not in my SAT booklet. And if it's not in the SAT booklet, how in the world can it possibly be important?" Well, fast forward many years, and I realized that this world completely runs off of relationships. Country to country relationship, business to business relationship, individual to individual relationship, so on and so forth. But I found that at the beginning of every single relationship, there's a connection. And then I figured, okay, if connections are at the foundation of every relationship, and relationships run this world, then shouldn't that mean that connections and connecting with each other becomes the priority of what we're trying to do in the workplace? Shouldn't that be the priority for us? Connecting with a person we see every single day more than our family? One would think. But then the next logical question is, okay, well, how do we build these connections? We could get up here and talk about it all day and we connect this or that, but how do we build actual connections? Through vulnerability. Vulnerability. When you can connect with someone that you work with and share a personal story, a personal struggle, a personal experience in your life, not only are you building a connection in that moment with that person, but you're also paving the way for authenticity to now be talked about and represented in the workplace. Right? Think about it like this. Let's say you share with somebody your lifelong journey with depression. That would be me. I struggled with depression for years, okay? Being vulnerable with you. Now, let's say you talk about the lows, you talk about the highs, all that fun stuff, but when you shared that struggle with that person, you may have been planting a seed right up here that's going to help them to realize that they too can take off the mask that they're wearing, stand in their authenticity, and seek out the help that they need for what they've got going on in their life. And not only can that save somebody's life, but it also helps them to validate what they've got going on as true and that pain as real. And that's so incredibly important for us to do, especially in the workplace. I kind of think about it like this. When we are being authentic in the workplace, the culture is going to be more inclusive. And not only is the culture going to be more inclusive because now people feel like they can be authentic, but now those walls that we all have built up, one by one, are going to start crumbling down because we see we're allowed to show that authenticity in front of each other. And that is so important for us to do. I had a visual up here, went by a little bit, but what it was is that we had a pocket of peace. And what a pocket of peace is as follows. It's essentially that place where you could be your full, authentic self in every scenario you face in the workplace. Every single one. And we want people to live in and operate out of that pocket of peace. That's what we want. Right? And so the pocket of peace, authenticity, that is the goal. But there's a bridge leading to that authenticity, and that bridge represents vulnerability. Vulnerability is the key. And I know my slides are a little bit different, but we still got about 45 seconds. Okay? Now, as we wrap this up today, when we're talking about buzzwords like vulnerability and authenticity, these all sound great, right? But these are all foundational pieces of creating a workforce and a workplace where people can feel comfortable to be themselves and therefore let that communication become free-flowing. And when that communication is free-flowing, that's when we can learn to be a leader, but not just any type of leader, an imperfect leader. Somebody that leads knowing that I'm going to make mistakes, and that is okay, and allows that authenticity to be the bridge to connecting with others.